if you ever happen to orbit the blue planet or the watery planet, and that is our own Mother Earth, you will see that almost the entire planet is covered with blue color. So why is that? Well, we know that the Earth's surface is covered by oceans. Oceans constitute almost 71% of the Earth's surface. But is it only the oceans that constitute the amount of water on Earth? No. We also have other water bodies that include sea, rivers, underground water, icebergs, and many other such water bodies. Now they are divided under two broad headings: freshwater and saltwater, also known as saline water. So let's look at this distribution. So the freshwater nearly contributes to 2.5% of the total water on the Earth's surface, and that includes ice, groundwater, rivers, and streams. While the other half is 97.5% salt water, that includes water from the seas and oceans. Right? So, going on a beach is a beautiful experience, right? And what do we have there? We have these beautiful sea. We all need a little bit of vitamin C. Exactly, I'm talking about SEA, which is a beautiful water body. It is distributed all around the world and has a major importance in our life. Therefore, how do we define seas? So, seas are large saltwater masses that are smaller than oceans, right? And they are often marginally or partially surrounded by land, and hence they are often known as marginal seas. So to have a clearer understanding of what exactly is the difference between an ocean and a sea, let's point out some differences. So, while an ocean is a massive water body and is generally very deep, the sea, on the other hand, is smaller and shallower as compared to an ocean. So, referring to this particular diagram, we'll have to understand that these coastal waters here is referring to the sea, which are shallower. But as you go deeper near the seabed, you see that these water now become the oceanic water, right? So as you can see that the water above 200 meter is the sea, while as we go down after that, it is referred to as an ocean. Now, coming to another difference. So, what exactly do we mean by photic and aphotic? Now, photic is a region to where the sun rays can penetrate. While we are talking of the aphotic, here it is just opposite. The sun rays cannot penetrate into this region. So, while we are talking of the coastal waters or the seas where the sun rays can penetrate even into the deeper parts of the sea, it is called the photic region. But while we are talking of oceans, it has the aphotic region where the sun rays cannot penetrate. Right? Therefore, sunlight cannot penetrate deep into the oceans, but sunlight reaches even in the deeper areas of seas. Right. So we have already discussed that seas are called marginal seas sometimes. Why is it so? Because they are partially or marginally surrounded by lands. But oceans, on the other hand, are never surrounded by lands, right? So, ocean is a continuous body with no boundary and is not necessarily present near a land, right? But sea is an extension of the ocean. As you can see here in the image, that the sea is an extension of the ocean and is partially or totally surrounded by the land, as you can see here. So as we have already seen earlier that while we are talking of seas, the sun rays can penetrate even in the deeper parts, right? And it is also near the land, which is of a higher temperature. But while we are talking of oceans, which are far away from lands, and there are aphotic regions where the sun rays cannot reach or penetrate, it is of a lower temperature. right? So seas, we can say, are comparatively of a higher temperature than the oceans. But we must also remember that not all seas are of a high temperature. Okay? Coming to the final difference. So, marine life in oceans is very limited, right? So, oceans have animals that require very less sunlight because their sun rays cannot penetrate into the deeper areas. So, these animals include phytoplanktons, whale, and many other such animals that do not require much of sunlight. On the other hand, marine life in sea consists of a large number of creatures which depend on the sunlight and live both on land and water. These animals include crabs, lobsters, and many such other animals. Right. So when we take a look at the world map, we see that there are some very important seas of the world that we need to know about. Let's name them. Just like Aral Sea, Caspian Sea, Black Sea. So we find all this in the Asian region, right? Coming down to Bay of Bengal, which is to the east of India, and Arabian Sea, exactly west of Indian Peninsula. Then we have the Red Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, the Caribbean Sea, Sargasso Sea, and to the very northeastern part of North America, we have the Bering Sea, right? So let's have a closer and a deeper understanding of some of the most important seas in the world. Now, as you can see here, there has been some very important seas been marked on this map. Now, why is it so? Because they have something in common. And what is that? That is that all of these are completely enclosed by land, right? And these are Aral Sea, Caspian Sea, and the Black Sea. So these are a type of seas that are completely enclosed by lands. We must also remember that these seas which are completely enclosed by land are also referred to as lakes sometimes, right? So here is a picture of the Caspian Sea where we can see that it is surrounded by land everywhere, right? Moving on. We have the Black Sea. Now, why is the name Black Sea? Are the waters there completely black? No, not really. It is because of the high and rich concentration of a particular type of algae that causes the dark color, and that is why it is called the Black Sea. Coming to the third one, and that is the Aral Sea. Now, from the very word Aral, which is a Mongol word, we must know that the Mongol word Aral means island. Now, why exactly is the name Aral Sea when Aral means island? This is because Aral Sea is known as the Sea of Islands, as it has more than 1,000 islands present in this particular sea. Isn't that amazing? Right. So you can see here, this too is surrounded or enclosed by land all around it. So now, can you help me answer this question? Well, which of the following sea is completely enclosed by land? Is it the Arabian Sea? Is it the Black Sea? Is it the Sargasso Sea? Or is it the Caribbean Sea? Well, it is the Black Sea, which is completely enclosed by land. Now, do you see a difference between the seas that we have already learnt and the seas that are marked here? Now, what is the difference? Well, while those were completely enclosed by land, these seas here are partially enclosed by land, right? So they are partially enclosed by land and fall under another type of seas, right? So what are these? These are some of the most important seas of the world. These are Caribbean Sea, North Sea, and the Arabian Sea. Now, taking a look at the Caribbean Sea. Do you see this picture? Isn't it beautiful? Would you like to visit this? I feel like scuba diving right now, right? So this coast of Caribbean Sea, which is in the Trunk Bay, is one of the most important tourist spots of the world. Here people come to enjoy a beautiful beach experience, and there is also a national park present here. Isn't that amazing? Well, you can see here that the Caribbean Sea is not completely enclosed by a land. It is partially enclosed by land, as I've already mentioned. So let's now take a look at these two seas. What are these? The Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. Now, how are they different from the previous two types of seas, right? So basically, the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea are nearly cut off from the ocean, as you can see here. Now we know that seas are an extension of the ocean, but here they are almost cut from the ocean. So as you can see here that the Red Sea is almost cut from the ocean. So while we're taking a look at the Mediterranean Sea, most of it is within the land. So the region that is near to the ocean is almost nil or negligible. Now let's know some interesting facts about Red Sea. Now why is the name Red Sea? Is it because it's red? No. The Red Sea is initially or originally blue-green in color, right? So because of the presence of certain or particular type of algae, which when dies, the Red Sea tends to change its color to the reddish brown, and that is why it is often known as the Red Sea. So let's learn about another important sea, and that is the Bering Sea. The Bering Sea, if you remember, is in the northwestern part of North America, as you can see here, the Alaska region, right? Now, the Bering Sea resembles a triangle, as you can see here, right? With its apex to the north. Now, the Bering Sea has more than 300 species of fishes, which includes 50 deep water fishes like whales, like sharks, while it also includes other fishes that are caught commercially, right? Now, it is believed that Bering Sea is one of the most dangerous water bodies to navigate upon, right? So, navigation is very, very difficult. Now, why is it so? This is because in winters, it experiences dangerous storms, which are not good for sailors, and it might lead to fatal accidents or a shipwreck. Now, practically all of the Bering Sea water comes from the Pacific Ocean, right? Now in winters, the northern portion of the sea, that is this region, is covered with ice, while even in summer, the water below the surface remains at sub-freezing temperatures, right? Now, finally, let's talk about another very important sea, and that is the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea? Wow, isn't the name interesting? So what causes the name to be so weird? Well, we'll learn about that in a while. Now, the Dead Sea is believed to be the lowest water body on the Earth's surface, right? So it is very, very shallow. Another very important point is that the Dead Sea experiences a scanty and a irregular rainfall. Why is it so? This is because it is believed to be in the desert area, which is right west to Jordan, that is in Asia, and that is why it has a scanty or a irregular rainfall. Now, the Dead Sea constitutes an enormous salt reserve. Now, this is where we understand why the name Dead Sea. So, you can see here that the Dead Sea falls in this region in the map, that is in the equatorial region. Now, many years ago, what happened was, due to heavy stream flow, there was deposit of huge amount of sediments in the Dead Sea. Now what happened was, due to the high evaporation rate, the water tended to evaporate to the atmosphere, and there was no replenishing of the water with precipitation. So precipitation was very low. Now what happened was, these sediments, or a much larger portion of these sediments, included sodium chloride. So when this evaporation happened and there was no precipitation, all these led to salt deposits in this area, which made the water very, very saline. And because of the high concentration of salt in this water, Survival of fishes and plants is very or almost nearly impossible in this particular sea, and that is why it is called the Dead Sea. Also, if you ever happen to visit the Dead Sea and if you try to dive into the sea, it will be very difficult. You will feel that something is pushing you up again to the surface level. How is this possible? This is because of the high density of the water due to the high concentration of salt, which pushes you up to the surface level and does not let you sink, right? Let's learn about another very interesting sea, and that is the Sargasso Sea. So what is so interesting about this? So we know that the sea is partially or marginally surrounded by land. But when we are talking of this sea, it is bounded by 4 currents and no land. So you can see here that these 4 currents are the Gulf Stream, the North Atlantic Drift, the North Equatorial Current, and the Canary Current. Right? So these are the 4 important currents that surround the Sargasso Sea, which is present in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, it is distinguished from other parts of the Atlantic Ocean. Why? Because of the presence of brown sargassum seaweed, as you can see here. So if you remember that I had mentioned in the very first part of the video that oceans and seas are very important to us. They not only make the earth more beautiful but are of a high importance. How is that? You know that the sea is a salt water or a saline water body. So from sea we derive huge amount of salts. But in earlier times what happened was table salt was produced by evaporating saline water in the evaporation ponds. And this technique was used by people many years ago. But now there are many more modern ways of drawing salt. So today we have learned how important sea is in our lives. They make a city look beautiful, and on the other hand they hold huge importance. There are vast seas as well as small seas. There are seas that are completely enclosed by land, while there are seas that are partially or marginally enclosed by land. Right? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app to learn one-to-one with our amazing teachers or to get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock test. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it is rewarding too. So register for free now.